Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Need Some Introduction. As usual, I'm your host, Victor, and I'm here to introduce you to something new to watch and provide some context along the way. This will be a pretty short preamble because I have the flu, but Darren is back from vacation, and we did have a conversation just catching up on things we've been watching, and I decided I'd share it with all of you. We will be going week to week, covering the new Hulu series, Paradise, and 3 episodes are available now. I've seen the first 3. Darren in this conversation has only seen the first, but I'm finding it very entertaining so far, and we will be going week to week on this yet another conspiracy thriller here. We had originally planned to go week to week on Prime Target, but that series might get better, but really haven't engaged with it at this point. Also, I mentioned here in the conversation that Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was going to premiere on Disney+. I have watched those first 2 episodes, and it's totally fine right now. It is rebooting the Peter Parker story yet again, but doing it in a pretty efficient way. It is not canonical to the MCU, but apparently they have big plans for this story. They've actually renewed it for 3 seasons already. I'd say if anything's going to be a blocker for people who are fans of Spider-Man, it is going to be the animation style here, which is definitely trying to hew back to the cartoons we saw a generation ago, but is definitely using computers and definitely has a unique look. So try it out. Another positive here is that this is definitely family viewing. So if you want to watch something with your younger kids, and of course young kids love Spider-Man, this is not a bad option. All right, hopefully my voice will have recovered by Friday when we record the Severance conversation. And starting next week, we will be going week to week with Paradise, delving into these first 3 episodes even further, and also discussing episode 4, which will be dropping next Tuesday. I hope you enjoy the conversation. I'll talk to you soon. I honestly watched this today, and I did not do any kind of real deep prep, so...
Okay, well, that's all right. That's something different for yourself.
Exactly.
I watched this show pretty fresh, so I didn't read anything about it. So I watched the pilot, and so it was very interesting to let it wash over me and see what it's about.
So tell me your experience of watching it. We were thinking about watching Prime Target, which I think is premiering tonight, the most recent episode. I think I'm an episode behind. I'm really not paying attention to this show. So we were looking for something else that might work out. This really more than the talent involved. Maybe that's where we start the conversation. Did you or you and your family watch This Is Us?
No, I don't know about that TV show at all.
It's, one of those shows that was one of those word of mouth hits that happened a few years ago. We tried to watch it at some point, my wife and I. And we just felt like a little melodrama, nothing really that. But I know people were totally addicted to that show. But all that is to say that this creator, Dan Fogelman is his name. I wasn't like waiting with bated breath to see what his next project would be. By the way, Sterling K. Brown, who's a producer on here and obviously the star of the show, became famous from This Is Us, where he got multiple Emmy nominations.
Okay.
But all that is, that's all background for you as well, because I figure you didn't know a lot of this. And by the way, this was network TV in the US. So I do wonder how versus streaming hits, which obviously get a global push. I think if something's just running on network TV, it is actually something I never considered from an international audience. I'm assuming that you have your own local programs that are probably getting their own pushes, so you probably don't get this. But then when something becomes really big, I'm sure it becomes something that you do watch on Hulu or whatever. So then I guess it is kind of bridges the gap into a streaming hit of some kind. Regardless, I never watched it either. Watched a handful of episodes here and there. People loved it. It ran for many years. So then this is his next project. And wasn't that intrigued by it until I heard the description. I saw the trailer and, of course, a window in the schedule. So always looking for something to plug that. And I've seen the first 3 episodes, which are all available now. The first episode actually premiered earlier, so they must be pretty excited about this. You've seen 1 episode. Tell me what you thought of it.
You know when a show is good pretty much straight away. So within the first 10, 15 minutes, you're either hooked or you're not.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And this is a show I think that I had a lot of confidence in after watching it for a bit. Sterling K. Brown, I've only seen him in a few films. So I think he was in, was it American Fiction?
American Fiction. Mm-hmm. He got Academy Award nomination.
He did. Okay. He was fantastic in that. And I saw him in another, like a low budget movie. It was a Duplass film where he was like a co-star. It was like a two-hander, and he was also excellent in that. So seeing his face on the screen and seeing what he has to work with and the emotions that he's going through, you have a bit of confidence in what the show's going to be. So had no idea what it was about. Watched him work through his community, which is obviously a bit odd.
Hmm.
Things are going a bit odd in the community, and then you find out that he's working as security for a president or an ex-president. And James Marsden is fantastic. The
Hmm.
last thing I saw him in was Jury Duty,
Hmm.
which was hit and miss, but he's a great screen
He was
presence.
terrific in that. Yes.
Yeah, so funny, so funny. And he really knows his own persona and playing the president, he's kind of a bit smarmy, but also very
Hmm.
likable as well. I think it's a great role for him. And I had a lot of confidence in this pilot. It makes me want to watch more.
I'll tell you, I've seen all 3 episodes, and it both gets sillier and goofier, but I'm not saying that
Mm.
in a bad way. I am loving it.
Oh,
it
fantastic.
it has some really, wait till you see the next couple episodes. It has some really big themes on its mind, but then it is such a TV show with these little hooks and these character details. And the way I was describing this after I saw it is that it's really good TV, and maybe Dan Fogelman knows how to do this. It's really good TV in the fact that everything everybody does is kind of ridiculous, but makes sense in the context of a TV show. But it's so in a good way. It's like, there's some things where it's like you're going for some kind of gritty reality and you don't buy into this reality at all. And this is like on its face, absolutely preposterous, but everything in that context makes perfect sense. So I'm like really on board with the silliness of the show. And once again, I don't even mean that in a derogatory way. This is just really entertaining at the same time that it has this mystery going on. Through the 3 episodes, you basically see the backstories of how each of these different main characters got into circumstance they are here. And they have really interesting backstories. It's like really surprising that this person became vice president, given where you meet them in their lives. So I like all of it. I like the backstory part of it. I like how they all come together. I like the mystery, although it seems like it's going to be like a very big, grim reveal eventually. It's all working for me. And like the big swing of what they're even trying to do in the show is part of what keeps me glued to the screen.
So the reveal at the end of the first
Mm-hmm.
episode
Yeah.
puts the show in a very different box than what you're thinking of when you're watching it through. So
Right. Right.
um, it does handle flashbacks really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a shock when you first see the James Marsden character, and then
Yep.
you're like, and it immediately goes into flashbacks, and you find out bits and pieces of the story and where we are, and where you're situated. And then at the end, it's a bit of a curveball. So
Mm-hmm.
having seen the next couple of episodes, you probably have an idea of where that kind of science fiction idea fits in the show. So it was a bit of a surprise to me, but I'm keen to go with it.
Yeah. We'll just announce it here that if you want to be not be spoiled beyond episode one, and I actually won't
Yeah,
spoil you beyond episode one either, other than answer some of your
good.
indirect questions there. Once again, this is a mystery. There's this Secret Service agent played by Sterling K. Brown. He's showing up at work that day. You get a real quick feel, really good pilot type episode work here. Get a really good feel for his dynamic with all the main characters. And then he walks in. Once again, we're only spoiling episode one. Walks
Yeah,
into his the residence of the former president, and who lives in this gated community of some kind. Everybody there is a VIP of some kind, and he's dead. He's been smashed in the head. And rather than raising an alarm immediately, we start to suspect that this agent Xavier, is his name, is suspicious that he may not be able to trust the people who are closest to the investigation. So he does some investigation. He leaves at one point with a clue from the actual residents. Obviously, very not much playing by the book in that particular regard. And he's looking for something. A safe is open, and there's something missing. And he knows to look there, and that's the mystery of the show. But James Marsden, as the president, is dead, but he's in every episode because we see him in the flashbacks. Yeah, and of course, the button on episode 1 is that this is the first murder. Well, I guess that maybe they only announce this later on. This is the first murder within this compound, and what they are is living in this enormous city, which is all in a mountain in Colorado, I believe it is.
Colorado, yes.
Not. I think they do mention that at the end. And yes, so even the sunlight is all. It's actually pretty cool realization of how the sun works, that it goes along this track that imitates the sunrise and the sunset. Yeah, so then it all evolves from there. I will tell you that within the first 3 episodes, you get a little more context for how this thing was built, who's responsible for it. We still do not know what the cataclysm is that led to this to this situation, but we do know that some people are angry about it, and there's different people that are blamed for it. Even in the first 3 episodes, there's a lot to be revealed. I think that every episode kind of ends on a red herring, where they do that traditional TV thing where it's like, it must be this person, and then immediately in the next episode they're like, nah, it can't be that person, right? But which is kind of how mysteries function. So I think it's expected. It's very formulaic in that way, but well done, very entertaining. And I'd say the biggest surprise for me, and I don't know if it's going to keep working, is that there are some big themes about how you define yourself inside of society. When society collapses, how do you redefine yourself? Is even our species wired to be able to rebuild itself given its negative circumstances, which I think the show is not pessimistic. It seems to be that this is the goal of this community, is to rebuild. So there is some optimism to that. When you see each character in flashback, you see, like, surprisingly, these people that in the moment you might be like, aha, she's going to be the bad guy. And maybe she will be in the end, the bad guy. But when you find them, you see that they were basically people who ended up in these political positions, but really went into it with the best intentions at heart. So it kind of speaks to the fact that we change over time and maybe become cynical and maybe overly pragmatic, but there are definitely things on the mind of this show. I would recommend definitely check out the next 2 episodes. I think you'll be more interested, if anything.
Oh, that's good. No, that's heartening for sure, because I need a new series to watch, and
right.
Shows like Silo and Fallout. What this one does is the community, yes, it is possibly a bit fake, and we'll probably see more fake, like there's fake ducks in the pond,
yes.
but
yes.
It is a lot brighter, and it is a lot more friendly than
Right.
Silo is, it's more Matrix-like, and Fallout, they're kind of living a fantasy, and it's from a video game, so it's obviously got that different layer involved, but this is actually trying to create almost like a Truman Show type community that people would possibly be happy living in if the world has come to an end. And I don't think it matters how the world has come to an end. Maybe it will later in the series. But it is interesting, and maybe a bit more, but he does say that his wife is a scientist, or was a scientist.
Right.
And I feel like there's a bit of a mystery involved there, and she's obviously not in the silo with them. So there might be something between the president and himself of why his wife is not there, which, is giving him pain.
Yes. I think this is not a spoiler. I think it's in the first episode, but he basically, basically says out loud that he wanted the president dead. And of course, that makes him a suspect, and to some extent. Although it would make it very impractical if that was the case. But in the beginning of episode 2, of course, since he was the last one to see the president, they have many questions for him. It's not like your stereotypical plot where, the guy who's trying to solve the crime becomes the prime suspect, then he's on the run while he's doing the investigation, kind of like what Silo did. Apologies for my voice, by the way. I have everyone's sick in my house, and I've picked it up as well. So I'll see if my voice can survive this review. It's that definitely is there, but pretty quickly, these are smart people. They're not stupid characters. They don't suddenly illogically try to pin it on him or something. He is doing his investigation. They obviously don't want him to be too much involved in the investigation, considering how close he was to it. But at the same time, so he's running like a parallel investigation, but we're inside the investigation as well. So it's an interesting dynamic to see these agents who are friends are sharing information, but he's kind of on the outside looking in. And it only gives you more opportunities for more interactions and for more mystery as to what the conspiracy is, because you'll have someone, for example, tell him something in his parallel investigation, but say something else from inside the investigation. So then it makes you wonder, are they in on it, or do they know that they're close to the actual perpetrator so they don't want to share the information? It's very well done. It's very intriguing. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also liked Sterling K. Brown. And the scene that got me into it was when he discovers the murder, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very well directed. He takes his time
Mm-hmm.
to look at all the clues, and you're looking at the clues with him.
Right.
It's not just chaos and, call it in straight away. He's got to find out exactly what is in the scene for him to make sense of it. And I think there is a shot of him, there's a tear rolling down his face. So you
Mm-hmm.
obviously understand that he's close to this guy, but it's not overtly, oh yes, he's crying. It's like you just see it
Right.
in a certain angle. And I thought it was directed really well. Did you see who the director was?
I wonder if it's Fogelman. Let me take a look since I haven't. Right.
It's not. It's a guy. I don't know what his name is, but I think he wrote Bad Santa. So he's a
Oh,
writer
really?
director. He's written quite a few things over the years. So he's got plenty of form.
Oh, I know this guy. Yes. He directed a lot of This Is Us, so that's not too surprising. He's doing mostly TV, but he, back in the day, what's the particular movie I was looking for?
I had a quick look last night. So he did Bad Santa and he did Crazy Stupid Love, I think was the
Oh,
film.
yes. Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I love Bad Santa. I think that's a great,
Yes.
it's a great different kind of film and did a lot of things differently. So this guy obviously thinks a bit differently. But I haven't. Every time I see his name pop up, I'm like, I know that guy from somewhere.
He also wrote and directed Focus, that with Margot Robbie. I don't know if you ever saw that, and Will
Oh, okay,
Smith.
no, I never saw that. No.
Yeah, that's a fun movie too. But yeah, Bad Santa's fantastic. Yeah, it's surprising, actually. I'd have to say, a little surprising given the tone of that first episode, because he did a lot of comedy early in his career. He's doing mostly TV, including a lot of the
hmm
episodes of This Is Us. So I guess that's where the relationship formed. I wish you had seen through episode 3. There's a prolonged, protracted sex scene in a shower. And then I started thinking, they really should have some kind of gatekeeping on the amount of water they're spending. This they don't have water. There's not that much water down in this place. They better have good recycling of that water.
I watched a bit of Silo, but I just couldn't believe the whole thing, the way that it was organized. So hopefully we get details like that. I'm quite interested in how these communities do work together to keep everything organized.
I won't badmouth Silo too much. I really did not enjoy episode season 1. I tried to watch season 2, and we couldn't get into it. That's why I haven't covered it here on the podcast. But it was popular for us here on the podcast. I don't want to badmouth it too much, but I just found it just moved so slowly. There just was no fun element to the storytelling. Like, basically, there are multiple mysteries in that show, but none of them made me curious. And when they would resolve something, I'm like, okay, this is a very different show, which is to say, if Silo, for example, turned you off, and now that you're maybe hearing this and thinking, oh, that sounds kind of like Silo, this is a very different feel. So even if you are turned off to that type of thing, I think you'll find this entertaining. It is elements of a White House set soap opera like Scandal or
Mm, mm.
something, with this science fiction element. And it also has some heady themes in it. Can they actually pull that all off? Honestly, it is the ambition of the show in those multiple ways that makes me curious to see it. It might not work by the end, to be totally honest, but the fact that they're trying to, make a soap opera and a political thriller and a science fiction show, and maybe have some ecological agenda to, maybe like draw attention to some actually big pressing worldwide themes. All of that is extremely ambitious, but it's fun. And that's the other key fact, right? That none of this is tedious and preachy. It's like fun. So I'm enjoying it a lot.
And it's always interesting when it's like an end of the world type situation and it's an everyman that's drawn into the Oval Office to to sit down and go, this is what's happening within the world. You're one of 100 people that know this information, and you need to decide whether you want to come with us to get this information to see the end of the world and to perhaps have a ticket out of it, a ticket to safety, which I'm sure is extremely rare.
Yeah, and I'd say one magic trick that this show pulls off beyond that even is that there is, even in 3 episodes in, we obviously are seeing the world through Xavier's eyes, but there is a version of this story, and it's not borne out that it's not the case, where he may have killed the president. And that whole surveying of the scene is that when he showed up, he didn't find the scene the way he expected it to be. There's a moment when he gets questioned in that episode 2 where he tells the truth, and then he overtly lies, and he does not set off the monitor. And everybody mentions how he's such an upright guy and he never lies. And the reality is that we don't know what happened that night of, right? And we don't know if his complicity is in there. I honestly don't think that's the direction the show is going into. And if it was, it would be some kind of twist where he was doing some greater good. He definitely doesn't seem to be a nefarious character, but it could be an interesting twist if he actually is covering his own tracks because there's some greater agenda that he's actually serving. It is interesting. Like, we really don't know anybody's true agendas. All of that is fun.
That would be really cool because the whole show is set from his perspective, isn't
Right.
it?
Right.
Yeah, that could be a very dark twist.
Right.
I'm not sure if they would do that either, but yeah, I'm down with that. That's kind
It
of
doesn't
cool.
seem to be that kind of show. Like I said, I think given the tone of the show, if that turned to be out to be the case, it would have to be in some with some larger ramifications. Because I don't think he was just like he got really mad at him and murdered him in the night. That's definitely not. There's no indication of that in this show, right?
Yeah, no, good. I'm very interested in watching the next couple of episodes. I mean, I like his security buddies. I think they work really well together, a bit of banter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of these characters.
Yeah, I just want to shout out James Marsden one more time. That's really crystallizes what I like so much about the show. Because my daughter, not only with jury duty, but because my daughter watches the Sonic movies, and she's also watched that Easter Bunny movie so many times. When James Marsden shows up, most of the time we're seeing him with cartoon characters on the screen at the same time. That's his speed, as far as I am aware of. Although he has been an interesting actor in the past, I haven't seen him in anything like that in some time. And what I really like about him here is that he's very shrewd, that he plays the country bumpkin kind of goofball, but we see him like in a flashback and you realize he has this whole other personality that he is, in a way, this is a performance he's doing to be the, oh, shucks, politician. And that's really interesting. Just the fact that they let you see him interact with different people in a different mode. And that Marsden does such a good job of playing serious when he needs to, charming when he needs to, the goofball when he needs to. He's really, really good in this.
Because we've seen him in so many comedic roles, we feel like we know him very well and we're kind of on his side, even though he's shown elements that he's not a very nice person, or he could just twist any situation to his advantage.
Did you see Westworld, by the way?
I did see a couple of seasons of Westworld, yes. Yep.
Yeah, he was also very good in that, especially season 1. Season 1 of Westworld is excellent. Season 2, very uneven. And then, boy, that show, wow.
Yeah, season 1 I was right into. Fantastic. Even though the kind of mystery and the way the structure was, it really wanted you to try to crack it and work it out. And I think I had to Google it to find out what the theories were, and it wasn't actually that dense to be honest.
Exactly. That's the funniest thing about it. When I stopped watching it, I would still read recaps sometimes just to see what's happening in season 4. I think I forced myself to watch it through season 3, and then I was just done. And but I would read recaps of season 4, and then when they got to the end, they're like, "Oh, this really sets up potentially another season." And same like you were saying, the revelations at the end, it's like, "Oh, that's it." Like it's so hand wavy. And anyway, let's not talk about bad TV. We don't have to.
There's so much bad TV. This one is good.
This one is good. Yes. I agree. 3 episodes in, so I haven't seen the whole thing, but 3 episodes in, very engaging. I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, fantastic. And what's the commitment? Is it 10? Is it 8?
Oh, good question. Let me take a look real quick. It is 8. So everybody out there, you got 3 episodes now. Next week, we can touch base again. We'll be halfway through the season. Look how great that is.
Good. I like that. I don't like things just hanging on and hanging on.
Yeah, 8 episodes for me. Like it's like 8 episodes is a good amount of time. You don't need to
Mm.
drag it on for 10, which is unfortunately everything seems dragged out nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, those slow episodes just kill you. Just kills it, kills the story.
A couple more topics. The Agency. So did you catch up?
The Agency, I'm savoring that show,
Oh, okay,
Victor. So I watched episode 8
nice.
and I was just gonna straight away go into the next one, but I thought, you know what? I really enjoyed that episode. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna savor it. So I'm not gonna get you to spoil the ending.
Oh no, I'm not going to
Um,
spoil it for you. I just thought if you had seen it, we could touch base. But you know what? Savor it. The last 2 episodes are the best 2 episodes, so
oh,
we can touch base whenever you get around to it.
that's good. Yeah, no, the series is delivering for me. And I also saw a preview, a trailer for another Fassbender, a film
Oh
where he
yes,
plays
Soderbergh. Yep.
a secret agent. Hey, directed by Soderbergh, and it's got
Hmm.
Kate Blanchett in it. And that
Yep.
was a crazy trailer, really fantastic, and it really made me want to watch it.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, he's just doing spy shows and movies now, I guess.
yeah, that's right. And also had Marissa Abella from
Oh
Industry,
yes.
so
Yeah.
which she's fantastic. So I'm keen to see that.
Always like seeing her and everything.
Yeah.
That's another thing we'll have to cover here on the podcast when that movie comes out. Okay, a couple other good things you might want to catch up on. Have you seen any of the Pit yet? Have you seen any of that?
It's on my watch list. I haven't delved into that yet, but yeah, we've got it here on one of our streaming services, Binge, which is I think gets the Max shows
Yeah.
because we don't have Max here in Australia. But yep, that's on my list. It looks good.
It's very good. I reviewed it briefly here on the podcast before. My wife, who's a medical professional, has watched it, and she says it's like the most accurate version of that type of show. And it does 1 hour per the hour of the shift. And Noah Wiley, who I didn't really watch ER back in the day, so I don't really have a lot of exposure to him, is so charismatic at the center of the show. Terrific. Really enjoying it so far.
Mm.
But it's maybe something that will be really satisfying binge, considering it's like a one day in the life. Actually, I think we're a week behind because it's the type of thing that you could easily watch 2 episodes at a shot. It's not like there's a big mystery in between episodes or anything. So
Mm.
we probably will binge it in like little increments. There's 15 episodes of that one, so it's got quite some time before that season wraps up.
Mm. Wow, that's a lot.
Couple more things to bring up that I've seen you watched potentially. One of them I know you've
Mm.
watched it, and I'll save it for last. Severance,
Severance, yeah.
episode 2. Have you seen the second episode?
I have seen it. It's appointment TV,
Mhm.
and it's something that me and my wife can sit down and watch together and be fascinated by, and loving the new title sequence.
Yes. Hmm.
And I don't know where that show is going to go. It's fascinating, and now that we've seen the characters for a season and fallen in love with them, and it's great. One thing that is very interesting is Helly's outie character
Yes.
is
Yep.
now a character in the show,
Yeah.
and she's fascinating. I don't know where that actress has come from, but she's just
I
doing top level work.
I had literally only ever seen her in High Maintenance. Did you ever watch High Maintenance?
No, no.
It should be on HBO or Max or Binge, one of those. It
Hmm.
is. You started as a web series, and it became very popular. These creators in New York City, Brooklyn, actually, were making the show about a pot delivery guy. He rides his bicycle around town, and through his pot delivery, there were these short films, and you'd meet all these not famous, but famous inside of New York. These low scale actors, the kind of working actors that exist in the city. And they basically worked together in this community to make this TV show. It got so popular that they brought it to HBO. And then I was really worried, like when you make these longer episodes, is this going to work anymore? It was really clever what they did with it. They kept these multiple pot deliveries as this framing device. And little by little, only through these interactions, you start to discover more about this pot delivery guy. And I think it was the final season of the show, he gets a girlfriend and she's married. This is all like in the background. We never have it explicitly said, but we infer it all. She's married to a producer. He got Me Too'd, and then they're going through a divorce. And this is all happening like kind of in the margins of the show. And it was her, and she was really good in it. So I always remembered her, like whoever that was, she's really good. And then all of a sudden, like maybe a year or two later, I see Severance. I'm like, oh my God, it's that girl from High Maintenance. She's got an oral show now. But yeah,
Well,
I'd never seen her in anything, and she's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
she's brilliant, and you can just tell that she's going to go on to do incredible things.
She was in a horror movie. I think I mentioned this to you, but I was kind of shocked that both Milchick and her specifically, Lauer is her name, the two of them, that they hadn't, Terrell Tillman is the other actor's name, that they hadn't taken off after Severance. I'm like, man, how did those actors not just get every role? And I think I told you
Mm.
this, that the show took like almost a year to produce. They started shooting it the same year of the first season of Severance. And then they got shut down from the writer's strike. And then when they came back from the writer's strike, it took so long to finish the season that it took like another 8 months to produce. And now, the Milchick actor is going to be in the next Mission Impossible movie. And she has made a horror movie that played at Venice, I believe it was. She played at one of the film festivals, and it got very positive reviews specifically for her performance. So I'm like, well,
Yep.
good to see that they're going to finally be able to work now. That they're not stuck in production for 2.5 years on this show.
And that's good. And I wonder if the Milchek actor plays an evil character in the Mission Impossible because my God, I hate that guy.
He looks great on a motorcycle, though. Hey, come on,
Uh,
like just he could be
he
riding
looks great
alongside.
doing everything, dancing, walking down the hallway. But my God, he's horrible. Just so evil.
I have sympathy towards him. I got to say, I have a theory that he's an innie that is like all innie. So that's my theory on that character, and that's why he's like so odd sometimes. But I feel like, especially with episode two, like he is definitely manipulating these characters. We're not going to spoil anything here, but even though he is manipulating those characters, I honestly feel like he does love those innie characters, right? He really does want the best for them. And obviously, if these people don't come in, there's no innies, right? Like, so I think that as bizarre as that paternalism is, I think it is there. And I think that's what makes him an interesting character. And I love his performance. I think he's just great.
Oh, he does. I think he does love them when they do what he wants them to do, and
Good point.
and
Good
when
point. Good point.
when they earn the rewards and when they earn the parties, he's all about it.
That's why I said it's kind of an odd type of paternalism, because I mean that there is, we probably all know some dads who are exactly like that, right? When you do exactly what they want you to do, they're the best dads in the world. The rest of the time, not so great, and they play head games with their kids as well.
Oh, now you've got me thinking.
Is that you? Is that you, Darren?
Possibly. My God, I'm over school holidays, that's for sure. Just go back to school already.
Yes.
Next week.
It's all innies all the time now. It's like, I want you guys out.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, last thing I think I wanted to talk to you about. I have not seen this movie yet, but I'm going to see it tonight, possibly. So maybe, you know what, maybe we'll save this
Mm.
conversation for next week. But you can shout it out now, and maybe we just announce it so people can watch it. Is September 5, which I saw you saw.
September 5. Yeah, I saw an advance screening on the weekend. I won't spoil anything. There's nothing really to
You
spoil
really can't
because
spoil
it's
this, right?
it's a factual event, but it's a fantastic movie. I really, really enjoyed it. It's right up my alley because I just like the way that real events are being covered by journalists on the ground, and as the story's unfolding, they're kind of working out how to cover a live event on television. It's set at the Munich Olympics, and it's the first Olympics that they broadcast
Hmm.
live. So it was a really big thing for them, and to have this terrorist incident happen basically across the road from the studio. It's incredible to see. The movie's not for everyone. It's very dark, it's very smoky, it's all in rooms, it's all guys with big glasses, and there is one female character who has a large role in it as like a German translator. But it's fascinating the way that they show it's shot on film, so they're
Hmm.
shooting film on the ground, so they've got to
Right.
run the
Yes.
film
Mm.
from where they're filming it to process it before they can put it on the air. It's got a couple of journalists, I think Paul Jennings or someone Jennings is a
Peter
famous
Jennings.
journalist.
Yeah.
Peter Jennings is on the ground. They show real footage of the host in the studio. There's no actor playing him. I think it's just the real footage from what happened. I was fascinated, and it helped that I didn't really remember what how the events
Right.
unfolded. I thought it was an incredible movie. Is it Skarsgård or Peter
Sarsgaard.
Sarsgaard? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not the lead actor. The lead actor is the guy. We just saw him in The
From the
Agency. I
agency.
think it's
Yeah.
yeah, Megara. He absolutely kills it. I think there's a lot of things coming his way after this film because he's just nailing the performance. It was a great watch in the cinema. Brilliant.
Yeah, and that's in wide release right now in the US, I think this week. And then I think it's coming out to home video next week or something like that because
Wow. Okay.
it's I think that well, it didn't get a lot of Academy Award love. It did get nominated for Best Screenplay, by the way. So that's always, I think, more of an indication of the quality of a film, to be honest. I always
Y-
tell people you should see who won Best Original Screenplay. So, for example, like Fargo won Best Original Screenplay, did not win Best
mhm.
Picture.
Mm.
Get Out won Best Original Screenplay, did not win Best Picture. Pulp Fiction won Best Original Screenplay, did not win Best Picture. So don't pay attention to the Best Picture. Pay attention to Best Original Screenplay. This is an adapted screenplay, but still, the screenwriters are looking more at like structure and storytelling more so than a lot of the popularity contest or the career capstone for the TV, which often happens with the Best Picture award.
Y-
Yeah, I was thinking it was funny because we discussed Peter Sarsgaard giving an incredible performance in Presumed Innocent this year, and then
mm.
then John Magaro, who was not only in The Agency but also was in Past Lives last year, which was one of my favorite movies of last year, which I thought he was just excellent in that.
Mm. Yeah, oh, he's so good. I did go on Letterboxd, and after I reviewed it, I had a look at other people's reviews, and it gets very mixed reviews. And I think it's because
Yes.
Jewish
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
Palestine angle. I'm sure the movie was written way before this latest conflict, but people were not on board. So if that bothers you, maybe that will tie into your opinion of the film. But I mean, as like a capture of what happened in the 70s, yeah, I highly recommend it.
This is a factual event, like you mentioned. I am sympathetic to the plight of the Palestinian people right now, but these Olympians who were killed, they didn't commit any crimes that reminding us of this moment in time. And yeah, and maybe it resonates today for different reasons.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see what you think of it if you're able to see it.
In anticipation of the Academy Awards, it got at least one prestigious, one of the big nominations, but I don't think that's enough to really get it into the top 10 at the box office this weekend. So it will probably
No.
pop up at home video pretty quickly. Well, yeah, let's discuss it. I mean, by the time we talk about it this next week, it might be available for home rental. So we'll see.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, and I did want to mention, I think I brought this up in one of our previous conversations. There is a documentary from 1999, which won best, I think it won the Academy Award for best documentary. It's called One Day in September, I believe.
Mm.
And it covers this same incident, basically. And to a large extent, I think inspired this movie. A lot of it is from the POV of this actual production. And like you mentioned, it's pretty fascinating just to see how they're literally soldering wires from the
Yeah.
telephones into the microphones. And like you were saying, that they used to shoot everything on film. They had to smuggle the film into the compound where the cameras are running, smuggle the film out, and then like photograph it with TV cameras to stream it live. It's just insane when you think about the logistics of this. And of course, you think in today's day and age, this would be so easy to do. Everybody would be streaming it live on their phones, but it's a world of difference just those 45, 50 years ago.
Oh, it's fascinating. I mean, as you say, I mean, journalists can have one phone, or you don't even have to be a journalist. You can just have a phone and be on the ground and stream it live. Whereas here, they need crews to go out. They need
Right.
someone to do the sound.
Right.
So you
Right.
can't just go out by yourself. You got to phone it back in from a public phone box. Yeah,
Crazy, crazy.
it's quite amazing how they can get the news and how they can actually get to the facts when it needs
Right.
to go through
Right.
so many avenues. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess in a way, it also shows the journalist in a heroic light as well.
And it's just people on the ground and they're just trying to make sense of it, just like
Right.
everybody. And it's just whether to show the live pictures of this terrorist coming out on the balcony. It's
Right.
just they don't know. There's no rules for it because there's never been live television like this before. Fascinating.
Yeah, and that's I think it's the cover of the documentary is just that hooded figure on the
Oh,
balcony. Yeah.
oh, it's just frightening.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. I did see Wolfman, which I think we discussed via Letterbox briefly.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed in that movie. I'm such a big fan of Leigh Whannell. Leigh Whannell's from Australia or from New Zealand?
I'm pretty sure he's from Australia. We used to have this TV show on like a Saturday morning. It was a live TV show for kids and teenagers, and they would just have live music. I think Green Day came on, was supposed to do an interview, and they just ripped the instruments off the house band and started playing. And he was the movie reviewer on that show, and he was maybe a few years older than me, and I was like, this guy's got the best job. Live TV on the Australia's broadcast where everyone would watch it, and he was just reviewing movies that whatever he liked. And yeah, it's gone on to huge success, which is unfortunate that the Wolfman is not quite living
Yeah.
up to the hype.
I
Yeah.
gotta say, I was so disappointed in this. First of all, he's got the greatest job now because he gets to make all that the forever perpetual Saw money and
Yeah,
Insidious too, right? Just an infinite number of Insidious movies and Saw movies, which
crazy.
none, except for the first Saw movie. By the way, for anyone who doesn't know, Leigh Whannell is the other guy in the room in that first Saw movie.
Mm.
So he's been in front of the camera as well. He made one of the Insidious films, which was not very good, but then he made Upgrade, which is a great film. It's so much fun. Have you ever seen Upgrade?
Very cool film. Yep,
Yeah,
definitely.
love that. I love the twist at the end of that movie. Really, just such an entertaining film. And then the Invisible Man reboot, which I thought was
Mm.
really smart way to take that story. And but you got to see this film. It's not because it's bad, which it is, but that's not the reason I recommend it. There are some moments in this film that are so good, and there's a thing I'm not going to spoil it here. There's a visual thing he does, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's multiple times in the film where the film is putting you in a different character's POV, and the visuals of this is so unique and so strange. There are moments in the film that are from another movie. And then everything else around it between those great scenes is so perfunctory and boring. And there's not a single suspenseful scene in it. And I'm like, what happened here? What happened? Like really wasted opportunity there for sure. Unfortunate because like I said, I would actually recommend if you are, especially if you're a fan of Whannell, do check it out when it comes available to watch at home because, like I said, you're going to be blown away by like 3 or 4 scenes in the movie, and then the rest of it will be like, what happened? Like the rest of this movie's terrible. Like what's going on
Oh,
here? It really feels like there was production issues. Honestly, that's what it kind of feels like. Anyway, better luck next time.
yeah.
I'm in general a big fan of his.
Yeah, it happens. Unfortunate, but yeah, I might wait for streaming for that one.
Yeah, definitely not. Don't run out to see that one. So. By the way, if you have absolutely no expectations and I tell you it's bad, and then you watch it, you might actually end up liking it. So who knows? Maybe that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
best way to approach the material, I think. So,
Sometimes it's like that.
all right. So we will regroup next week. We will talk about the next episode of Paradise, or as far as you get into it. I mean, there's a lot, it's a big watch there'll be 4 episodes by then. But yeah, if you catch up, you
Mm.
catch up. And whenever you get around to wrapping up Agency, we'll probably discuss that. There's a couple of things I didn't get to cover in my conversation with Sona. It's an action-packed final episode, so there's a lot to parse through. So I might bounce a couple of ideas off of you when you get around to it.
Yeah, epic. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Loving that show.
All right, a lot of good TV out there, and of course more Severance coming as well. So lots of good stuff.
But no more Prime Target.
No, I mean, it might even get better from where it started off from, but man, there's just too many other things to watch right now. So,
There's too many other things. Yeah, I didn't mind it that much, but there is too many other things. It's at the bottom of the list, I think.
oh, one more thing you might want to put a pin in, maybe, is are you interested in seeing that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon series?
Possibly. I'm a fan of Spider-Man, but yeah, maybe. What's that on? Is that a that'd
That's
be
on
Disney
Disney. Yeah.
Plus, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Disney Plus, yeah, it's already renewed for a second season, and rumor is that it is doing something with the Peter Parker character in the vein of those Spider-Verse movies, which I really enjoyed. And
Love
maybe
those.
they're going to intersect these stories at some point. It's an alternate dimension Spider-Man where his mentor is Harry Osborn instead of Iron Man. played by Coleman Domingo. So anyway, it's
Oh, he's awesome.
yeah. I just saw
Well, that's
Sing
smart
Sing.
because those Spider-Verse movies are so good. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the next one.
Oh my God. This is a whole other digression. I know you probably have to jump off in a few minutes, but I just find it absolutely hilarious that they announced that Spider-Verse movie, the first one would come out last year, and the next one would come out this spring, the 2024. And when they were doing the press, they're like, "So, how far along are you with the next movie?" And all the cast is like, "Oh, they're making it. We haven't even started recording our dialogue." And they're like, "Oh, well, maybe
Oh,
did the dialogue last? Maybe they're doing it last." And basically, what it turned out to be was that they got the green light on that first half of the film, but they have done like no progress in the second film. It's probably going to be like Avatar or something. We'll have to wait another 3 or 4 years for the next one. So. But just
wow. I
very
did not
funny that
know.
they're like, oh, it's not 8 months away. It's actually like 5 years away. Like, oh, okay. A little bit off on the mark.
Wow. Yeah, we were really keen to see that. And we went to saw it. And as I was buying the ticket, it said part one. And I was like, hang on a second. This is a 3-hour movie and it's going to be part one.
That's my criticism of that movie, by the way. They could have just ended it like 10 minutes earlier or 10 minutes later in the story and had like a resolution. And then we could wait for the next film. But to end on a cliffhanger and be like, see you in 5 years, I'm like, what are you talking about? Don't do that
Yeah.
to me. Don't do that.
Oh, so epic.
All right, cool. Lots to watch. So yeah, so sample that too if you're curious. That's going to be tomorrow, and we will touch base again next week.
Awesome. Cheers, Victor.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.